5 and 6, Vox Machina escape the Duragar war camp, infiltrate the Emberhold, and finally find their quarry. Let's get into it. Thank you to everyone who pointed out in the comments that the boulette fight that grossed me out so much in episode 4 actually appeared in Legend of Vox Machina in the scene where the party are all describing their weirdest kills, because I had completely forgotten about it, and that scene also grossed me out immensely. Oh, no, I know. Okay, so picking things up, in episode 5 with Vox Machina, they interrogate the general, asking if he has seen Kima, with Vax rolling an intimidation check using some stabby interrogation techniques.
I take my dagger and stick it in about a centimeter and say, "Your master is gone. It's just you and your friends here now. I think it's in your best interest to talk. You could walk away from here. You don't have to die. If you can play nicely."
And believe me when I tell you, he usually kills everybody. He doesn't give that offer very often.
Go ahead and make an intimidation roll. With advantage because
First
of
roll
his
the
backing
night.
you
First
up.
roll the night.
Yeah.
Natural 20!
That's a way to start.
He said they took Kima to King Morgul, the king of the Duragars, as a present, and also reveals that there is a hidden passage that will take them directly into the Emberhold fortress in the Duragar stronghold, but he refuses to give them any more details. Clarota steps forward to help by reading his surface thoughts, and they learn that Kavan came and united the Duragar and the Mind Flayers to a goal of expansion, unification, and dominion over the land. Whilst this general hasn't seen Kavan personally, he has heard rumors of his appearance.
What I know of Kavan, a being of immense intelligence, a creature that needs not walk this earth, one that does not touch the land of which it traverses. I know it sees all. It smiles from a toothy maw and laughs in the darkness, protruding from its forehead one nasty, gnarled black horn. A terrible source of its dark power. That is what's been rumoured.
I have a feeling I know what that creature might be. The general explains how to get into Emberhold. There are 2 streams of molten rock, one which covers a secret tunnel. There is a mechanism that cuts off the lava flow that they can't access from the outside, so they're gonna have to work something out themselves. The general attempts to leave with his axe, but Grog wants to take it, so after they attempt to dack him, yes, that is what happened, they attempt to pull down his pants. The general disappears and reappears down the passageway, and whilst Keyleth is advocating for them to just let him go, Vax and Grog chase him down, attack him, and then Clarota eats his brains.
As he's frozen in place, Clarota just kind of steps up to the front of him, grabs his cheeks and pulls his head in towards him as his tendrils slowly wrap around his head. You can see the meat at the back of his skull, and with this horrible crunching sound, you see his head shudder as his limbs go limp. A few moments of this horrible slurping sound. You hear this dull, sickening, hollow sound. The tentacles release. Clarota releases his grip from his head, and the captain falls onto his back. Giant bloodied hole in the center of his skull.
He ate his brain!
I guess you should have left the hammer, shouldn't you?
Rewatching this, I'm remembering why I struggled with Vox Machina in the first place. Look, I'm not saying Bells Hells or the Mighty Nine didn't treat characters this way, and I get that he's a villain, but I think, you know, having come from Campaign 2, it was a little bit of a struggle. In Campaign 2, we meet the characters at the very beginning of their journey, and I can forgive some of their actions or overlook them sometimes because I have built an emotional connection with them. But for Vox Machina, the very first impression that I get is them torturing captured NPCs, attempting to humiliate them, and generally acting pretty high and mighty. So, you know, while I know, because I've watched a lot of clips and I know most of the story, that we are going to see the character growth and a change from this more video game mentality of kill everyone, loot everything, it definitely caused me to bounce off of the campaign a couple of times. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to the Briarwood arc, but also the Chroma Conclave arc, because that was such a world-shattering event, and I think it really humbled the party and made them step up as heroes, serving more than their own personal interests. Unfortunately, I think this clip is lost to time because it was part of the Legend of Vox Machina watch party, but Matt said that he wanted to have an event in the game that really would humble the party and would really show them that, you know what, like, you're not gods yet, you're not like kings of the world, that there are still these really big things that can happen. They loot the bodies, of course, with the black plate armor and hammer of the general giving off a magical aura. Bells and horns begin to sound as the alarm is going off outside. The party quickly cover their tracks and they take off out of there, with Keyleth transforming into an eagle and carrying Pike and Scanlan, Grog flying, and the rest jumping onto their carpet. The Duergar spot them flying overhead and throw their javelins, and Keyleth takes enough damage that she reverts back into a human, and her and Pike and Scanlan start plummeting to the floor, which is 80 feet below them. Tiberius loses his concentration, so Grog starts falling as well. With some magic carpet hijinks and use of the feather fall spell, they hit the top of the building, slam into the floor, with Percy and Scanlan falling unconscious from the falling damage. This moment was such chaos and is a perfect example of how in the early days the group had not yet perfected the art of waiting for each other to speak and making sure that they were not talking over each other.
Coughing.
How far? Percy's out.
Percy just face down in the ground, scrapes across the side of his face. Scanlan's also out.
How far away? You take care of him. I'm right next to you.
Don't you have a group heal?
From us.
You guys are roughly about 10 feet from each other from the impact, just you're scattering, and then you're kind of
Of course, that, still does happen sometimes, but it's nowhere near as bad as this. And I think this stems, from their sense of panic and urgency, whereas now they recognize that they can still have that sense of panic and urgency, but just take a moment to let them all speak. I'm doing good speaking today. They manage to get out of danger, finding themselves in an abandoned section of the war camp, and they take the opportunity to take a rest and heal up. The next day, they continue deeper into the mountains, but not without some further Grog and Vax shenanigans.
Like to trip Vax.
That was quick. I saw you and you tripped me in a half a second. Would you like to take a shot?
Make an athletics check.
Yes!
Athletics. 24!
Make an acrobatics check.
Suck it, elf.
What goes around comes around, baby. 22.
Ooh.
Face down. Vax, a slight bruise on the cheek as you go face planting into the stonework.
I'm going to voluntarily erase
What happened? What happened? Did you not stealth past that little pebble?
It's all right. When the Illithid general is bearing down on your walnut-sized brain,
Yeah.
I may be there.
Hey, don't be rude to him.
Vax also gets into hot water with Cloroto when he says,
He sounds like a real fun guy.
I bet.
God.
Trip him again. Just trip him again. Trip him again.
So I bet the fortress.
Make a will saving throw.
Oh my
What is
God.
that, wisdom?
Yes.
Well.
You feel a mental slap as Clarota glares at you from across the tunnel.
There'll be none of that. My prison.
I got bitch slapped.
Hate puns.
As they travel further, Vex and Vax scout ahead and spot two large ogres pulling a cart and heading their way. They pull some classic rogue shit by tying a rope across the cavern, tripping them up, and kicking off initiative. They battle the ogres and a black ooze that was contained in a glass jar in the cart, hinting at Kavan gathering and experimenting on underdark creatures. The commotion catches the attention of two hook horrors, and they dispatch those as well, but not before Grog is knocked unconscious with a stack of acid damage. Pike kills him up, but due to all of the acid damage, his armor is almost completely burned away.
I noticed that the armor on your torso has near completely dissolved.
Well, you're welcome, ladies. It's
Hi,
time
Grog.
for a show.
It's been lumbering through this hallway. Whew, modesty, Grog. You place the studded leather on
Another
that.
armor +2. Okay.
So mark that for your AC.
I love modesty, Grog. Vax has some spare magical armor because, this is Vox Machina. They are loaded up on magic gear, so Grog does not have to go naked the whole time. Carrying on through the tunnels, they go and pick up Trinket and realize that they have made kind of a big circle all the way around back to the lava waterfall where they started.
What's wrong?
I'm trying to decide if I should back this Kickstarter from award-winning designer Acheron Games. It looks so freaking cool, but it was my New Year's resolution to read the books that I own before buying new ones. Yes, very sensible indeed. My shoulder angel. Now, what even is it? Hey, what's up, losers? This is no ordinary book. It is the definitive 5th edition setting book based on the Book of Revelation, and it will lead you into the final war between angels and demons, between those who fight for the throne and those who serve the abyss. But the human race will survive. Well, come to think of it, that does sound pretty epic. Everyone who signs up to the Kickstarter will get a copy of this incredible book, which outlines the apocalyptic setting, custom rules like mark dies, new player options such as Children of the Apocalypse and the Hellrisen, new subclasses like the Furioso, the Bard of Revelation, and the Wormword Spectre, plus all new monsters and an adventure for 3rd level characters titled The Key to the Seal. Where did you say you could get it? Follow the link in the description and back today to get the book, a printed A2 map of the plane of Armageddon, plus stretch goals such as custom maps, creatures, and dice! Well, that settles it then. Episode 6, Breaching the Emberhold, gives us a brand new intro with the cast cosplaying as their characters. This whole intro gives me such like 2000s era sitcom intros. There's just, I don't know, something about it. And it is of course a precursor to the next intro that will come out, which is a much more involved version of this. It's really interesting when you compare these early intros to the current intro. You know, in these ones, the characters are really the main stars of the show. They want you to connect with the characters and see them as one and the same, between, you know, the player and the character as being the same. I'm sure that kind of presentation didn't really help with people who disliked Keyleth and therefore projected that dislike onto Marisha. Whereas in the most recent intro for Campaign 3, while they are adding touches of their Campaign 3 characters, the main focus is on the players and who they are as people, you know, them playing around the table. I think it's a smart move because if you have the audience connecting with the player rather than, you know, or in addition to the character, the audience are more likely to follow along with any project that Critical Role puts out. It's also very funny to see them asking the audience if they would like t-shirts.
A lot of people have been asking for shirts. I don't know if you guys would maybe be into that or not.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm into it. Thought maybe we'd wear these, see what you guys thought.
You're into it.
But
Yeah,
if you guys are into it, we thought about doing a limited run of these and making this the first of our fan-designed t-shirts.
And to also call for submissions for designs from fan artists, with the winners being printed on shirts for limited edition runs. This is so different in the way they engage with fan content nowadays, and it shows just how much things have changed since the early days, you know, to their current position as a multimedia company. Anyway, on with the episode. They enter a chamber filled with black obsidian spires that are armed by ballista and patrols, and at the center is the Emberhold.
see standing a gargantuan ebony fortress. Serrated stonework marks the top of each wall, and more of these giant bolt throwers are mounted across the parapets. A massive magma fall descends from the rocky ceiling right above the stronghold onto the roof and is forked onto each side and then continues to flow down, buttressing each side of the stronghold almost as a defense mechanism. Like they built it intentionally underneath this magma fall.
A fortress built inside a lava flow is metal as fuck. Vox Machina creep through the outskirts of the settlement and pass by a Duragar patrol who are talking about a thing out there that ate a whole scouting party in seconds, something that was in service of Kavan and cracked. The party theorized that it may have been the boulette that they already fought, but come on guys, you know that Matt Mercer has something like terrible brewing for you. Whilst sneaking along, Vex notices that one of the spires is a different color, a deep crimson. So the twins, accompanied by Scanlan, head off to get a closer look.
I'm coming with.
Do it.
Scanlan comes with. Go ahead and roll stealth check.
Oh boy. Not my strong suit.
Don't fuck it up.
No, Scanlan, what'd you do?
You dick.
Did you?
What did you do?
You can change your mind.
Wait,
I got advantage, don't I?
I grab Scanlan and I kiss him on the cheek and make him stay.
I love seeing Matt wrestle with like respecting the dice but also enjoying this very fun moment between Pike and Scanlan. In the end, he asks her to roll a perception check and she rolls low, so unfortunately that kiss was not canon. Boo! They arrive at the spire and see that it is crimson because it is covered in dried blood. Nope, I don't like that. Not only that, but there are severed bits of bodies strewn everywhere. It is just an absolute massacre, and these Duragar, it was cleared they were pulled apart by something with sharp teeth.
This is the work of a beaver.
Yes, definitely very
A busy beaver.
They hastily head back to the group because they do not want to tangle with whatever did that, and as a group they start heading towards the Emberhold to a side that they believe they can infiltrate. They roll stealth checks, and again...
They still have passed without trace.
Oh, for the love of God.
Which gives everyone a plus 10.
Yep.
Percy,
Oh, really?
Yes.
don't bang the guns together.
Yeah, that happened too.
24.
24?
19.
We all have plus 10?
And this
Yes.
is plus 10 on everybody.
Yes.
I rolled a 1.
Okay.
Oh.
Two failures.
see.
I quickly kiss Percy. Oh, I don't know. I thought it might help.
Fortunately though, enough of them pass their stealth checks and they continue forward where they come across a Mind Flayer statue. Well, not a statue, but a petrified Mind Flayer, a Mind Flayer turned to stone. Now, there are a number of D&D creatures that can turn creatures to stone, such as Medusa, cockatrices, and gorgons, but Clarota says the Duergar often travel with lizard-like creatures who have these abilities, which means it is probably the Basilisk. They have the Petrifying Gaze ability, which forces any creature that looks at it to make a Constitution saving throw, and when failed, they begin to turn to stone. This condition can usually be reversed by Greater Restoration or other restorative magic. They leave the Petrified Mind Flayer, which Sam dubs Dave, and they arrive at the side of the Emberhold. There is no doorway or anything here, but Vex spots a bulge in the magma hinting towards something secret. They spot a patrol atop the wall above them, so Scanlan casts Dimension Door and takes Pike with him. As soon as they arrive, the guards are so surprised he immediately casts Thunderwave, throwing them off the side of the wall, down below where Vox Machina is waiting. Okay, heads up. I'm gonna put a little content warning here. We're gonna discuss death of children, death of a child. I know that we do talk about a lot of violent actions here and there are a lot of violent depictions in the show, but I think that this is something that is particularly sensitive. People can be particularly sensitive towards, including myself. Okay, so during this section, we learned something really awful from Keyleth's backstory.
Go ahead and roll
This is
athletics.
the meanest thing I've ever done!
No, remember you killed that kid one time.
Oh, thanks for bringing that up.
That's some dark shit.
Oof, so yeah, there is a pretty dark story behind this. In the pre-stream game, Vox Machina fought a villain called the Dread Emperor, who, in order to defend himself, chained children to himself to act as a living shield. Keyleth, in that fight, used her grasping vine to try and pull one of the children free, and this ultimately ended in that child's death. This is really gnarly, and honestly a great example of why safety tools are so important in games. For me personally, this would have been an immediate nope, and I don't know if I would have wanted to continue with the game, you know, if that had been like canon. Harm to children is a hard line in my games because I find it really distressing. And look, before anyone gets upset at me in the comments, because people always do whenever I bring up safety tools or my own personal boundaries, God forbid I have boundaries, I'm not saying that you can't include child death or other violent content in your games. What I'm saying is that everybody needs to be on the same page about it and agree to that kind of content from the beginning. You know, Critical Role has not shied away from child death in their content. We've seen it come up in other campaigns and we've seen it come up in Legend of Vox Machina. So it's clearly something that they have agreed to include in their games, although I've noticed that they certainly they have been very delicate in the way that they've handled it, especially in campaign 2. And, you know, I also thought it was really interesting that like Laura brought that up as like a bit of a joke, you know, or remember that time you did that, and Marisha was like, wow, thanks for bringing that up. So I think that is also important too, to like recognize that maybe some things are not like okay to joke about. I'm sure, you know, sure it was fine between Marisha and Laura. I'm not trying to imply that anything happened there, but you know, it's just, again, it's one of those boundaries that needs to be discussed ahead of time. Marisha later talked about how this was a defining moment for Keyleth and how it impacted her completing the Earth trial of her Aramente.
Well, that happened, so that was because that was right after I killed the kid. And
yes.
yeah, the first one.
Oh yeah.
The first one that I
Never
killed.
forget your first.
And that was, because that was also like one of the first kind of big character type of changing moments that happened in our pre-stream game.
Yeah.
And I remember you like talking to you about it and you were like, you should probably think about how this is going to affect Keyleth. You snapped a kid's neck. And I was like, oh shit, now I gotta like own this. And yeah, and so she basically was like really depressed after that and had like lost herself and had continued on into her Aramente, where she went to the Earth Kingdom and was having a hard time basically functioning or fighting or doing any type of magic or nature shifting.
Anyway, if you're interested in learning more about safety tools, I'll link some resources below. And if you don't like safety tools, you don't have to use them, and please don't tell me that I don't need them in the comments. Thank you. Okay, so from one violent death to another, we also get this scene with Keyleth.
14.
That's okay, he rolled a 1.
Oh, yes!
So as the Duergar is getting up, he goes, "Ugh," you just run up and poof, and he falls back into the back and goes, and starts giving a horrible, painful scream as he's essentially like flailing in the magma, melting.
Someone shoot him in the mouth.
I say shh, 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 And I do the, I wind down to like push him under the lava.
Okay, so as he's screaming, your wind wall shoves him further into the magma. As he's screaming, cooling the magma around him as the rock cracks around him into black rock. His face still.
This scene was actually reprised in Legend of Vox Machina.
The strangest kill I've ever had would be.
It's the best, man.
Pretty dark.
After killing the two guards, Vax manages to find the mechanism to open the secret door and they head inside. After exploring a storage room, some prison cells, and killing a ton of guards,
I smack Grog on the ass and say, go get him.
Alright, Grog, it's your turn.
they find Kima in a torture room on the rack. Nope, I don't like that. She is severely injured, so Scanlan sings her a song of healing.
And I pull out my flute and I sing, as long as I got my song and flute, I'm gonna give some healing to you. Love and magic in the air tonight. Gonna give you some hit points. Gonna give you some hit points. Gonna give you some hit points of ballad.
And Percy shoots off her restraints and frees her. The group tell her who they are and, you know, we're here to rescue you. But before talking much further, Kima asks to borrow Pike's mace and smashes to pieces the body of the guard, just brutally, clearly taking out her rage about her torture and her treatment on this dead body. All right, so with that done, while the party have completed their quest and found Kima, which was their main goal, their job's not over yet because of course they still have this mysterious Kavan to deal with. Before leaving to continue that quest, Kima asks them to help her find her belongings which were confiscated from her. They are being kept in a vault. They agree and begin to head out when Kima spots Clarota. She is shocked to find them traveling with a mind flayer and she implores the party not to trust him, and then Clarota takes offense, being like, oh well, I'm not going to travel with you if you don't want to travel with me. So Vax steps between the two of them.
I walk between them and put hands out and say, we all want the same thing. Kima, tell us, what is it that you've come here for? What is your purpose here? Speak your mind if you are true.
Kima turns back towards you, the same kind of glowing flare in her eyes. I've come here to rid this mountain and this continent of the darkness that resides deep within the bowels of this thing's city.
Clarota, why have you come here? What is it you seek?
Clarota kind of settles into itself for a second.
I've come to destroy this creature, Kavan, and free my people.
Then the two of you, get over your fucking shit. We want the same thing here. Get over yourselves, both of you. We share a common purpose. We are going to end this fucking bullshit. Kima, we have come here for you. Pay us the respect that we have earned. We have come a long way for you. He is an unlikely ally, but he has gotten us to this point. And together, for this moment and this moment only, we can work together. We don't have to be school chums or buddies in a week from now, but right now, right here, we will work together and achieve the same thing. What say you, Kima?
While it was a very good Liam speech, unfortunately it does not persuade her as she carries a lot of hatred and distrust for mind flayers. So Scanlan tries a different tact. He says, if you won't work with us, then we're gonna choose Clarota over you, which is not a great start to their friendship, but this does cause her to come around. She does threaten, however, if Clarota makes any false move, she will cut him down. And that is where the episode ends. I feel like I'm coming down kind of hard on Vox Machina in this video, so I'm really curious to know your thoughts and impressions. Like, how do these scenes make you feel? And are you a campaign 1 critter or a C2 or C3 critter like me? I feel like that really does change the way these early episodes of Vox Machina are viewed. With Kima found, the next step is finding Kavan. So stay tuned for my episode 7 and 8 breakdown coming out soon. But in the meantime, check out my Legend of Vox Machina Season 2 reactions with Jared right here. You have to see Jared's reaction to episode 10 because it is really funny. Okay, bye!